Hi everybody, and welcome back to Plastic Models by a Regular Dude and part 2 of the Accurate Miniatures 1/48 scale Yak-1 on skis build. So in the first part I basically talked about what the plan was, what was in the box, and all that sort of stuff. So now it's time to get cracking on this. So I'm going to start working on step 1, which is the cockpit. And I'm going to do as it says right here on the bottom, and I am going to follow the instructions implicitly. Is that right? I think so. I'm going to follow them to the letter, let's put it that way. So I'm going to get cracking, work on some of this, and come back once it's done, unless there is something special that needs to be talked about. Okay, so here is everything after it has been assembled up to this point, which is like this fitting here, the control stick, these side consoles with levers and such on it, the two little handles, I think they're gun charging handles, in the instrument panel, and then the decal installed. Now, real quick, I'll tell you how this works. Is this instrument panel comes clear, and basically what I did is I glued the parts in, stuck it to my tape, you can see the outline there, sprayed it black after I used some little teeny tiny these right here. They are masks I got from Model Paint Solutions, and you can see here they come in different, they have 3 different sheets, small, medium, and large, and I think this is the small, and you can see how small hopefully these are, and I used those to mask off the dials from the front so they stayed clear. In the decal, you have 2 decals you can use. You can either use one that you put on the front and just let it, you know, use some microset and microsol to get it to melt down in there, or you can use another one that when you look at it, they're just black circles, and what it is it's upside down, so the sticky side is down, which means you stick it like this and you have the dials facing, the dial print facing up, and it looks really cool. Now once I get it in the cockpit, you may not be able to see it, but it is really neat looking here. So with all that done and the detail painting and some light washes done, I can do a little bit more. I did a little bit of sponge chipping along the seat here. I put the seatbelt decal in here, and I'll do a little bit of dry brushing to highlight some stuff, and then I'll dirty up the floor area of the cockpit itself, and it'll be ready to glue together, and I'll come back after I actually do that. Alright, so the cockpit is complete. So thoughts so far, the fit is really good and things seem to locate really well. However, on some parts, I shouldn't say however, it just, you really need to test fit things and make sure of where they go and what's coming next before you actually commit to glue. Now, one thing I will note is, just like it says in the bottom here, to follow the instructions. I did that, and that is very, very helpful. And I say follow the instructions, I mean follow them exactly in the order they give, because you could run into problems installing stuff. And I really like the way it's laid out, actually. Now, if you only had this to go off of, you could still build it, probably no problem. If you're, you know, intermediate or advanced modeler, you wouldn't have a problem. If you're a beginner, you might have a little bit of trouble if you didn't have any beginner or any kits under your belt. So in short, I wouldn't recommend a kit like this for a straight out beginner, but if you've had any experience at all, it works really good. And I gotta say, the detail on this thing is just crazy. Like this little wheel right here and here, most kits would supply that as a separate piece. These are actually molded onto these side frames, and they are just, they look like a separate piece. They just look really good. The detail on this thing is just kind of insane. It's really cool. But anyway, the cockpit's done, so now I can move on to, and real quick, like one more thing, it's kind of cool because you got these little, you can check these things off as you go, which, you know, I mean, you can do that with any model kit. You can put an X through it or whatever, but it's just really organized. I'm really digging it. So that's the way it's supposed to look, and you know what? Mine looks like that. I'm really stoked. So on to the next part, which is step 2, fuselage and radiator door. So first up, there's not a whole lot of parts in this step, but it's really cool because I did a test fit on these things, and the fit is just awesome. I'm really stoked with the fit on this thing. It's just crazy. Like this part right down here, when you squeeze it together, once you glue it, man, you're gonna be hard pressed to even see that, to have to clean anything up. Now once I get primer on it, I might be able to see, but the way they have the seams, they just look really good. Now one thing that is kind of weird is the rivet lines don't match up, but you know, honestly, a lot of that's going to disappear anyway, because when I glue it together and then sand it, so no big deal there. Same thing up here, but the rest of it, there is no detail that's going to be lost because of the way it's pieced out. You know, you've got this, you don't even have to worry about these seams at all, because this piece right here goes on top of it, and it looks like it's a natural seam line. So with some careful lining up of the parts, it's not going to be a problem. So I'm going to start cutting all these parts off and get cracking on this part. Alright, so I'm working on the fuselage here, and I'm test fitting things. And here's something that I did to, now it's not completely glued together yet. I still have to glue this and the rudder, but I've got this glued, and this glued. So I thought while I had it apart, I would do some test fitting with this. Now again, this part fits really good, and that kind of posed a little bit of a problem for me. And here's what that problem was, is there's supposed to be a panel line along the side here. Well, almost all of it fit really well, so when I glued it together, it would have been flush, but in other spots it wouldn't have been flush, especially near the nose. But I wanted that panel line, so what I did, and I'll demonstrate right back here because I need to do a little bit more. I got my blade, and I basically, not flat, because I want to have this gluing surface here, and I don't want to screw up the alignment, but at an angle, I scraped the whole length of this part and created a chamfered edge, kind of about a 30-degree angle maybe. So that way, when I put it in place and I glue it, it's going to maintain that panel line, okay, because I don't want that to disappear. And it'll also help with alignment. It won't have to be quite as precise, but when it's pushed down, it lines up really well, and I get that, I maintain that panel line. So that's what I did on that thing there. Okay, so here it's time for a quick little update, and as you can see, I've come a long ways since yeah, my last segment on this video. The reason being is this kit has been just really fun to build and no problems. I think I mentioned earlier on that it's not something I would recommend for a beginning modeler, but if a person has any modeling experience and is, you know, comfortable with test fitting and stuff like that, this thing really works. And let me give you an example while I'm peeling this this masking off. The cockpit, you build the cockpit, and if you follow the instructions like, you know, it warns you to do from the very get-go, if you follow the instructions, what you do is you put the fuselage together, you put this top part of the fuselage, and then you just slide the, I wish I would have got pictures of this or at least tried to video it, but the way it was in there, it probably would have been impossible. But you put the cockpit inside the fuselage, then you glue this in place, the lower wing, and it says the cockpit will fit like it's supposed to, and it does. The instrument panels or the control panels or whatever on the sides, they fit right, almost exactly flush with these the sill here on the fuselage. And there's a part of the spar, this spar that glues in right here on the inside of the wing. It fits right up into a channel on the underside of the cockpit. You just fit together. So the whole cockpit assembly is not even glued in place, but it's solid. The only thing I did was I put some glue between that panel and the sill and clamped it so it'd be like super flush and I wouldn't have to do any filling or sanding or anything, and it worked. So that said, it really is a shame that and again, this is my only experience so far with Accurate Miniatures, but if that's the way all of their kits were, it's a shame that they didn't make it, because you don't find that kind of fit very often. Now, another kit, another one of their kits may be totally different and just be a total piece of junk. I don't know. I'll find out, because I do have a B25 by Accurate Miniatures that I'm going to be building. But I have to say that I would actively, you know, if I didn't have, you know, a bunch of kits already to build, but I would actively search out an Accurate Miniatures kit to build, just because they work. So with all that said, and with all this tape off of here, I can now start chipping this. What I did is I painted it the camouflage color, and I'll try and remember to put a photo at the end of this video. I'll add a photo at the end of the kit before I put the whitewash on. And I just did it freehand, and I used, let's see, which color I used. One of my green colors, I think it was, if I can get it out of the drawer here. Yeah, I think I used XF27. No, not XF27. I used one of my XF colors, my Tamiya XF colors. As a matter of fact, I think I used having trouble finding, oh, here we go. Yeah, I used XF81, I think. it was just a dark green. I didn't go for like the total accuracy of color. It's just they call out for dark green on the instructions, so I picked one that looked good and used that. And basically it's just as a base for whenever I start doing some chipping and rubbing away, like the whitewash has started to scuff off. So I just wanted to have something underneath and not just, you know, a primer color. So that's what I'm going to do next. I got my bowl of water here. I'm going to get my brush and see if I can start rubbing some off. And I'm really going to focus first on the walkways here. So what I did is I sprayed that camo color on, and then sprayed it all with hairspray. And then sprayed the whitewash on here. So as you can see, yeah. It's coming off pretty well here. So I'm going to work on this for a little bit and get it nice and worn down. And then come back, take a look. All right, so here is the chipping and wearing away that I did. And you can see I'm probably going to do a little bit more cleanup on it. For instance, right here, it's kind of smudgy looking. So what I'll do is I'll use this Q-tip here. Cool. Gives it kind of a fadey look. So while this is drying completely, before I put a clear coat on it, I am going to go ahead and do a little bit of detail painting on the hardware here, holding the skis, because that needs to be painted the same color as the interior stuff. So I'm going to do that, and then once I do that, I can put a clear coat on everything and then move on to decals. Okay, got the clear stuff on here on all the parts, so now I can start weathering this up a bit. But first I got to do the decals, so I'll work on those and come back and let you know how they work. All right, quick check-in here. I've got the stars on the tail and on the fuselage and on the lower wings. And I have to say, these are some really nice decals. Now, these are from '98, so they're really old, but no problems at all. And they're really thin and don't have a whole lot of decal film. So another plus for the Accurate Miniatures kit. So I've got the micro set and micro sol on here to kind of get those to settle in really good. And then once I do that, then I'll put the numbers where they go, and that will wrap up the decals. All right, so I've started working on some wash here, and what I'm using is Untitled Dark Mud, my favorite wash for everything, it seems. But what I'm doing is, the reason I like it is because it's more of a gray than brown, so I'm going to get cracking on this. Alright, so here's what I'm doing. This Untitled Dark Mud, I'm just slathering it all over the surface of the kit, letting it get into the details, darken them up a little bit, letting it sit for a bit, and then wiping it off with a paper towel. So I already did the top, and it really knocked back that stark white, because I was not digging that real white look. But I knew this would help tone it down a little bit. It actually looks like a war-weary bird. So I'm going to continue. And yes, I totally forgot to take that off right there, but you know what? I'm going to leave it, because this ain't going to be in no contest or anything. So I'm going to work on this, and then I'll show you what it looks like once I start wiping it all down. All right, so here it is. It is finished. I know I kind of jumped around a lot on this build, but I was having a really good time with it and really didn't think to take time out to video certain things. But anyway, really good kit. What do I think about it? Well, I have to say the kit was really good, fit together really well, especially considering how the cockpit fit into the fuselage without any glue or anything, yet it's solid. Really weird, but really nice kit. As for accurate miniatures, I'm glad I have another one in my pile of kits to do, because I think I'm going to enjoy building that one as well. So my recommendation is, if you can find an accurate miniatures kit, get it. If it's your first kit ever, maybe not so much, because it does take a little bit of patience and prior model building knowledge. It's quite helpful. But you know, just a couple of kits, you know, decent kits under your belt, and I think just about anybody could handle this. But it was a really good kit. Really enjoyed it. Eric Davenport, if you're watching this, thanks again for sending this kit my way. I really appreciate it. I really enjoyed it. One more quick note. The decals were really, really good. Very thin. Hardly any carrier film showed. So, I don't know. Just really, really good decals. So if all their decals are like that, well, I'm going to lament the fact that they went out of business again, because Accurate Miniatures kits are really nice. So I will put up a slideshow of the finished product for you here at the end. As always, thanks for watching Plastic Models by a Regular Dude and the Accurate Miniatures 1/48 scale Yak-1 on skis. If you have any questions or comments or anything like that, put them in the comments section down below. If you haven't subscribed already, why don't you go ahead and subscribe so you can see some more exciting, awesome content on my channel. And I say that in all sarcasm. But yeah, hit the like button if you like the video, and like always, I will see you all later.